Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the Dow Jones. Okay, so in the last not not long, probably like a few hours, I've had a few light bulb moments, and I started off with the oil chart, and now I'm going to update this idea with you so you can follow along with my changes so you understand why I'm making them. Okay, so for the longest time, this was the view. Maybe it's changed a few times, alternating between is this D, is it not? Right now, I'm changing this view to this is D, okay? Not D as in D within a structure that we're going to move higher, right? D as in we are done. We are done with wave B. We're not going to go up and down. We're going to go down and up, okay? This is starting to become apparent. It's apparent on the Bitcoin chart. It's now apparent with oil, and I'm starting to see it right here on this chart as well. Okay, so I've had similar view before, but I think now I've got it down. So I'll do the update live. So A and then A wave in the A in brackets starts off like this. Ready? A, B, C, D up to this point here, and E right there. Okay, reminds me of a view I had this view not long ago. So I'm really happy that I'm coming back with previous analysis in mind. And something very similar, something very similar to what I had in mind back then happened. But I changed my view so many times that just searching for the right confluence here, and the idea that this has already bottomed, I think it's a little bit misleading. So I want to clear that up. So I said that we need to go up before we find the low here, and I thought that we had hit that point when the view was the other way. But because now the view's this way, that point is now the end of A wave, the A in brackets that started in the GFC up until 2018, right? So I'm going to remove this trend line because it's just fancy for nothing, and I'm going to remove this line. So what I'm seeing now is that price needs to come back down, just like the Australian ASX market, right? That one, I think I've got it right, except I've got to relabel it properly, right? And what we need to see is a move back down to the end of A wave. So this is obviously like a type 2, no, sorry, just a type 1 expanded correction. Okay, and that simply means that the expansion in the correction comes back to end at the end of the first initial move up. Okay, so that's this line here. So we haven't quite hit that yet, and I think that's what we're about to see. Okay, so yes, this does mean that we are very close now to the end of this correction that started back in 2018. And I think the same sort of thing is going on in Bitcoin, which obviously means for all cryptos. But there is one more move down that might be a little bit scary for some. And it also depends on whether or not it doesn't just stop at that line, but maybe potentially extends a tad lower. Okay, because you got to think of it like in terms of, for example, like in 2000 and 2020, right? In 2020, we had this move down, right? And that was a wave. I believe that was a wave E in Bitcoin in terms of its little move, um, and E wave in other altcoins as well. But it was the last move down before the market turned around, right? But obviously, the market's been falling for a little while, and now if this is the last move down coming now in the Dow Jones, it's not going to be as brutal. Depends on how it falls, right? And I think it might fall in a zigzag. If it does do something like this, it wouldn't surprise me you know, if that happens, right? It goes low to a certain degree that it's this low. Now, I think from memory there was a gap down here. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm doing this on the fly. Okay, I'll check on that in a second. There's a gap down there somewhere. I'll see if I can find it for you. So, what does that mean for up here in terms of this this E wave, right? Because that's what it is. It's an E wave, right? Because obviously, if I'm marking this as the D up here, then we need to have the E wave, right? You know how this works. You've been following me for a while and you know all about it. So we need to have that last move to end this corrective pattern since 2018. Now, in saying that, right, we are here now looking at what I believe at this point in time is a type one week 5 wave move where it's like zigzags down, 1, 2, 3, right? And then obviously you need 4 and 5. So I put that zigzag down as 5, except there's a small problem with that view, obviously, if we're expecting another move lower. And it's something that I've looked at before and I've noticed and I've actually labeled it at one point. And it is basically saying that this is how the correction looks, right? This is A. Yeah, just leave it like that. Right, this is A. This is B. Okay, this is C up here. Okay, can you see that? Like, can you see how I did that? Because the first move up looks like a zigzag, right? So then we have a zigzag down and then a 5 wave move up. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so wave 4 ends here. Right, do you understand how I got there? Hopefully I didn't lose you on that one, but that's now a D wave, right? And it's a zigzag, so it's a D wave. So that's the only thing about these patterns is when they move down in zigzags, you can mistake one of them for a D wave. And that's what I think has happened here. And that's why I think it's complex. And if you understand this stuff, then it just makes total sense. So I was expecting a move down, but now it's not what I thought it was in terms of I thought, okay, this looks like an A, B, C, D, E, etc. Now I think it's probably just going to be one more move up and then down, right? So yeah, so let's move the 4 there. We probably need to see one leg higher to make that new high, and then that'll complete the E wave, right? The E wave. So that's the final move in. Okay, cool. So hey, how about that? Now this is no kidding. I'm not doing this on purpose, I promise. That's exactly what happened in Bitcoin. Okay, that is exactly what happened in Bitcoin, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? That happened in Bitcoin. The E wave up is what we're shorting now against. Okay, so this it's just lining up so well that it's pretty cool, right? So okay, let's move to the daily again and let's observe. So as I said, we need 3 waves down, and as long as wave 3 is the longest, which sorry, not the shortest. Wave 1 is already shorter than wave 3. Okay, so that means that wave 5 is allowed to be however long it wants to be, right? There's no rule against it. That's the funny thing about it. There is no rule. So whatever happens now, it can actually go down as low as it wants to, right? It doesn't even have to stop at that line, right? Because of the pattern, right? So if this wants to actually extend down here, it could if it wanted to. Not saying it will. I mean, why would it? But if we're expecting much lower Bitcoin prices and we're expecting oil to go to, between 20 and $40, well, what exactly is going to happen here? Not sure. That's interesting. That's an unknown. I can only tell you the setup, but I can't tell you how low it can go because there's no rule against it. Cool. So I'm glad we've got that sort of idea covered. So what does this mean? Okay, so you know how I said we're going to go up for that move to 100,000, right? Well, this measurement here suggests, yeah, from that line, 110,000. But that's if we fall back down to that line. And then that's what I believe will take it to 100,000, 110,000, or it could go a bit lower depending on how much lower this E wave goes, right? How low will the E wave go? We don't know. So wherever the E wave drops down towards, that's where we measure from. Remember, this wave is this, we're expecting a similar wave to the length of the first move up. So 2009 to 2018, right? That's how it works. That's Arias wave. That's what I do. That's what all my ideas are based upon, right? And once we get to that top, I believe, because when the market starts moving up, typically the Fed will continue to increase rates. And you know how I feel about the rates. I believe they're going to go to 10, 15%. They're going to go pretty high, in my opinion, right? And I believe that because the market's going up, the Fed's going to say, okay, the economy is doing great. Let's keep raising until we get to the point where we top, right? And I believe once we top, we're going to get one of the biggest crashes that we've seen, um, in a long time. Okay, and if I'm to measure that move down, that's 89%, right? But as always, that may not happen. That may not have to fall that low, right? It may just fall that much, right? Well, how much is that? 75%. I don't know how long the E wave will be. I mean, look what happened to this E wave. It became weak. So could it, sorry, potentially happen again where the wave E becomes weaker and this thing keeps expanding, 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 right? We know how much this is already expanded over time. Will this keep playing on the way that they're doing it, right? And this is the type of expansion, expansion, expansion that I believe is going to drive cryptos to the moon, right? And yeah, sure, it's been a rough ride, but look, we're almost out of this correction now. We're getting into that position where we're going to go up for the biggest move ever. So for me, it's just an opportunity knocking on the door, waiting for us to take advantage of it. And for whatever doom and gloomers out there, not to worry because um, it's not that bad. Okay, it's not going to be bad at all. So yeah, interesting to note the E wave there, similar to, so it's a bit of a fake out in a different kind of way. But all in all, once we go down for that last move, same as what I believe is coming in Bitcoin, yeah, we'll eventually bottom and oil bottom, and then we're off to the races. So hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.